Welcome back to the Snap Count on Big Play Sports Network presented by FanDuel. I'm your host, Trai, Essex, and this is your quarterback in mind, Mr. Charlie Batch. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Fantastic, man. You can find us on YouTube, on Big Play Pittsburgh, as well as X at the Snap Count Show, and we're also in your living room. It will re-air on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Check your local listings this Wednesday at 6 p.m. Hey, Chuck. Hey, did you have a good weekend?
Man, everything was well, man. It was. I'm just trying to be like you. I mean, our guys lost. I'm pretty sure you have some good news about your alma mater that you have going on. What you got for us?
Look, man, it was a rough weekend to start, but after we lost that Thursday night game in that fashion that we lost it in, and my Northwestern Wildcats came through. The Wildcats came through once again. We are now 5-2 with a 3-game winning streak. We are 3-1 in the Big Ten. We just shut out Purdue for the first time since 2017 or something like that. The Rose Bowl, the 1995 Rose Bowl team was here, Chuck. So Coach Fitzgerald was there. It was a good day to be a Wildcat. So I had a fantastic weekend. I'm sorry about Eastern Michigan.
Hey, and I had to hear, the crazy part is I had to hear as the game was going on. Of course, the game wasn't televised. And when my phone started blowing up, I'm like, this can't be anybody but Ben Roethlisberger. And sure enough, Big Ben, I'm looking at Ben. He texted because we played Miami of Ohio.
Uh-huh.
He said, what did we have that bet? And I'm like, it's been a recurring bet over 20 years. And of course, he has the, he's on the better side of this particular bet, but it was just frustrating. And it just made me think about, because I remember 20 years ago, that Northwestern team, they lost to Miami of Ohio.
Oh, see, why you gotta bring on my sunshine, man?
No, because this was big for us, because in the MAC during that time, you actually had to win the conference to go to the bowl game.
Right.
And Miami of Ohio finished that season 10-1, and they lost and was sitting at home at 10-1 while they had to watch Northwestern in the Rose Bowl during that year. It was crazy during that time, but that's how I remember that Rose Bowl run that Northwestern had because of that loss that they had.
Yeah, Ben gave us the business that year. I can't even front. The Red Hawks, is that what they are? Miami, Ohio Red. Yeah, they're the Red Hawks, right? We have coach, our late coach Randy Walker was from there as well. We have quite a coaching tree from Miami, Ohio. It's called the Cradle of Coaches for whatever reason, but never mind that. This past weekend, the Wildcats are winners and everything's looking up. But let's get over to these Steel City headlines. Steel City headlines are brought to you by Fairway Chevrolet GMC. Whether you're in the market for a truck that's heavy duty, built for work, or a real head turner, Fairway Chevrolet GMC has you covered. With clear upfront pricing, unmatched inventory, and a team that works to earn your business, Fairway Chevrolet GMC is the place to go. Trucks, SUVs, great pricing, no nonsense. That's the fair way. So we had 4 days to digest, to bitch, to complain, to get over this loss that we had this past Thursday. And mind you, Chuck, it was a rough one, but it's Monday. I have a positive outlook on where this team can go. I got all that negativity out of me, and there were a lot of good things about that film that we can build upon. That offense played well, the offensive line, and you'll see later on in the Trench Report, had their best game of the year. I was very proud of those guys. There was winning football being played in some form or fashion on certain position groups on the team. So it's not all a loss. And, strange things can happen on Thursday night when you're going against a division opponent. Afterwards, I saw that stat that said that it's not only us that struggle on Thursday night. The whole AFC North struggles on Thursday night away. So it gave me a little bit of relief. And so I'm feeling a little bit more positive this week.
Yeah, and it's always tough. And nobody wants to use excuses, but it's tough to play on the road on a short week. And, obviously, you're on the short end of the stick majority of the time. So that's going to happen. But as I went back and watched this film over the weekend again, I'm sitting there shaking my head because I'm like, they are kicking themselves right now because they really let one go. Because there was just small things, and it's just that communication issue in the key moments that cost them the game. And that's something that is correctable, but they just have to prove it, because we've seen it 2 of the last 3 weeks. One in Minnesota, one in this particular game here. When the game is on the line, they give up that big play because they weren't able to get lined properly. And ultimately, they came out of Minnesota with the victory, but in this particular case, they lost it because of that.
Yeah, it seems like by and large, defensively anyway, communication is the biggest thing. It'd be a one thing if it was a talent issue. I don't think that's the case. I think we got talent on each level of the defense, but communication, it reared its ugly head. It's been doing that every single game, especially at the end of games and crucial moments. And with this mini bye, Coach Tomlin has a track record of having his team ready to go after this bye. I believe he's 7-2 after Thursday night games. So that's the flip side of this. This team, I think they can improve, and I think they're going to do the things that it takes. But there's no mistaking. We let one go. We let an opportunity go to really put ourselves in some distance between ourselves and the rest of the AFC North, as far as of the space between the top,
right.
first and second and whatnot. And so we got the Packers coming up next. We got the Colts after that, the Chargers, the Bengals, the Bears, and the Bills. So we got the Packers and Colts at home, away in LA for the Chargers. We got Cincinnati back at home, away at the Bears, and then at home for the Bills. With this stretch coming up, it's a tough stretch. It's not like the gauntlet we went through last year when we had to go through Baltimore, KC, and Philly, but still, it's tough enough. And this year has been a crazy year. So much parity in the NFL. I'm actually enjoying it because there's no clear front runner. What do you expect record-wise, or what do you think that the Steelers need to be record-wise at the end of this 6-game stretch in order to maintain their hold on the AFC North?
Yeah, I think 5-1 can keep them close to that number one seed if they stay on track that way. But anything less than that, now you're jockeying for position as it relates to what 2 through 4 would be right now. So I think this is something that they know is important. They're going to obviously take it, talk about it one game at a time. But we know this game coming up is not just a regular game.
Right.
I thought Aaron would turn around and be like, no, we'll get to next week when we get to this week. But he talked about, hey, I'm playing against my former team. So that lets you know this game is circled on the calendar for sure. And this is going to be a big one because it's a primetime game. And ultimately, Aaron, if he wins this game, he will now have beaten all 32 teams. So this game is important. So that's just that little extra motivation factor that he has coming into this game.
And he will be in rare company. I think it's a certain pantheon of quarterbacks that have done that. It's Peyton, Drew, Tom, and I think maybe Brett Favre were the only other 4 that have done it before, and he'll be number 5. So, yes, I know there's more on the line for him than most people for a game like this. His old team coming back. I know he has some bones to pick, but obviously he had a good career there. We have him now. But that Green Bay team, they looked like they were on the ropes for a while, but they came through at the end of the game versus the Cardinals yesterday. And that Micah Parsons, man, that trade is looking like it's bearing some fruit right now.
Yeah, it is. And it's going to be a challenge, just like every week is. And of course, as Broderick Jones, and I'm sure we'll get to this trench report with this grade, but he looked like he's trending upward and he's playing with a lot more confidence. And right now, you haven't seen a lot of the help that was expected from Broderick because he's been holding his own. So again, this is going to be the next challenge for him. And of course, this is on prime time, and this is going to be a game. If Broderick can hold it down, he's going to make some money.
Yeah, you're going to make some money when you block somebody like that. Considering the game he had, his first true breakout game, if you can call it that, was against Myles Garrett. Now, we know he had help, but when he had the opportunity to block him one-on-one, he held up pretty well. And so he's going against, obviously, another great pass rusher, him and Troy, because Micah seemed to do most of his damage on the right tackle side, honestly. But he's one that moves around quite a bit, just like Myles does. So both the young tackles will get to see Micah Parsons at one point or another during that game. So they both have their work cut out for him because he's definitely one of the great defensive players in this league. But let's get back to the AFC North, where Cleveland had a good game against Miami. I guess you can call it that. That offense still leaves some to be desired, but they had a kid in Junkins, that rookie. Yeah, we got to see up close and personal that we had some success against, but he was able to go against a floundering Miami Dolphins defense, but he put up 3 touchdowns, and they were able to put up more points. I think they hadn't scored 17 points in like 11 straight games up to that point. They were able to put up 30 plus this game.
And that's a game that they needed, especially for a young quarterback trying to get, back on track. And when you're playing a game in that particular magnitude, especially when a Dolphins team is coming in struggling even worse than what they were, they had to go out there and handle business. And you could just see the excitement on that Browns team all around. The energy was just, for them, it was electric, and it was good to see them getting back on track.
Right. And I forgot to mention this at the top of the show. We have a special guest, and she knows a thing or two about these Browns and the AFC North as a whole. Aditi Kinkhabwala will be our special guest on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Garage Beer. No bitterness, no frills, no IPA, just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who sell garage beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com.
Welcome back to the Snap Count. We have a very, very special guest. I've got to know her over the years as I complain about my Steelers, and she would listen to me. But she has worked for the NFL Network, and now she's a sideline reporter for CBS Sports, and she covers the Browns. Welcome to the show, Aditi Kinkhabwala.
It is awesome to be with you guys, but you didn't mention the Wall Street Journal. That's where I met Charlie Batch. I met Charlie Batch when I was here for the Wall Street Journal, and I actually met my husband that same week. And I was writing about the Steelers, and Charlie told me a story about how the late Dan Rooney used to sit all the way in the back of the plane. And Charlie once said to him, "Why do you sit back there?" And he said, "Well, I don't need to play a game tomorrow." And it was so illustrative of the way that the franchise was run and of the late Ambassador Rooney. Do you remember that, Charlie?
That's a true story. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome story. Well, I would be remiss. Now, me and Charlie, we got all of our angst and all of our complaining out last Friday after Thursday's dismal performance, to say the least. And so we're starting this week out positive, but I would be remiss. The big headline going into that game last week was the trade of Joe Flacco to the Cincinnati Bengals. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you think at any point when Andrew Berry was making that trade, he had the Steelers in the back of his mind?
No. Andrew Berry he would not trade Joe Flacco away thinking, well, Joe Flacco can beat the Steelers.
Not even a little bit? Not even just a tad bit?
No.
Okay. All right.
I can come up with a list of reasons that trade was so crazy, but I'll be honest with you, Trey, I don't think that one even entered the mind at all. Sorry.
Yeah. So
that sounds a little like Steelers conspiracy theorist, right?
No, I know. And so let me say this. In hindsight, it's not like Coach Tomlin to come out, especially in a short week, and give bullet board material to the opposing team. And so for him to be that adamant about calling out a specific GM, it was just odd to me. So I wanted to know if there was anything there. That's all.
Well, you know what? But I think that, quite frankly, number one, was he irritated that he was facing Joe Flacco instead of Jake Browning? Of course he was. Number two, does he have a lot of respect for Joe Flacco? Of course he does. Just a few weeks earlier, he'd made the point of saying that last year he had told his players to keep Anthony Richardson upright so Joe Flacco wouldn't get in the game. I actually did that game. We all know Joe Flacco got in the game, and the Colts beat the Steelers. So the respect is real. The irritation is real. But I also think, and the competitiveness of who Mike Tomlin is, of course he's offended by the idea of anybody in the division helping somebody else in the division. Why would you ever do that? Yeah. All of that is a piece of it. But I really feel in my gut that he was standing up for Kevin Stefanski. He was saying what Kevin can't say. I mean, Kevin's run in Cleveland has been absolutely absurd. And now, they had brought in Kenny Pickett to be his starter. That's the guy that he was readying to be his starter in the spring. Unfortunately, Kenny Pickett had that hamstring injury in training camp. They didn't even give him a chance to get healthy before they shipped him out. So then Flacco is his starter. Then the decision is made, and I'll just say this, it wasn't Kevin who solo made that decision or really made that decision to move from Kevin to the rookie Dylan Gabriel, and then move from Flacco to Dylan Gabriel. And then they jettisoned Joe Flacco, who's so helpful in that room, who's a veteran, who should anything. I mean, the whole thing is anyway, but Kevin can't sit here and question that in any way. So I feel like Mike Tomlin was highlighting how unbelievably ludicrous that was. And it was a nice thing to do out of collegiality. Sorry, Charlie, I don't mean to cut you off. But.
Absolutely. I get it, all of that. And I know you've been around a long time, and obviously this trade was one of those. But in all of your years, have you, especially AFC North, have you seen the division this kind of lopsided this early in the season?
No, but I also don't know that this is the end of it. Like, let's be really honest here, right? I have to be like so careful to say this because my husband is in the next room, but it's not like the Steelers right now are creating this kind of confidence where you're like, okay, they're just going to run away with the division. Maybe it looked like that a week ago. It sort of felt like, well, they're certainly in the driver's seat, but they did look vulnerable in certain ways. Joe Flacco, for as heady as he is, as smart as he is, now has in T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, two receivers unlike any he has ever had in his entire career. Chase Brown is a really nice running back. Joe Flacco can make that offensive line look better simply because he can make quick decisions. Can he sort of tread water until Joe Burrow gets back? Well, certainly look like he can do at least that against the Steelers. And the Ravens are getting Lamar Jackson back. And I'm sorry, but Lamar Jackson is the best player in the league. You see what the Ravens are with him, and you see what they are without him. Now, of course, the Ravens have this terrible history under John Harbaugh of losing these late games. It's absolute losing games late. It is mind-boggling that the Ravens haven't won with Lamar yet, considering how dynamic and unbelievable he is. But I'm not counting out the Ravens when they have Lamar Jackson, when that defense does have the playmakers that it has, and as they get healthier. So I think that there are still things that can happen. I'm not ready to sit here and say, okay, Dylan Gabriel is it. He's a young quarterback who's getting better every week, who's not making terrible mistakes, who is indeed smart. That run game looked outstanding. Quinshon Judkins is the real deal if the Browns can figure out their tackles, but you know that defense is legit.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, that defense was able to get some turnovers, get some takeaways. Jim Schwartz lost his mind when we asked him about them. He got real salty, Trai. He goes, what do you think, that I have an interception play on my call sheet and I'm just not calling it? So clearly it was bothering him that people think that you could just dial up takeaways, but they finally got some. And you guys know, often turnovers come in bunches. So maybe that's just what you needed to break the dam a little bit. But again, I'm not saying that the Browns are equal to the Steelers here, or equal to the Ravens, but maybe the division's going to get a little bit more interesting. There's still a lot of football to be played.
There is. And you definitely had the last laugh in regards to Flacco, because you had that comment on X where you were like, he has Chase and T. And I came back and said, he's behind that O-line. But you do mention the fact that the way he gets rid of the ball is going to help out that O-line. But as we look forward and as we talk about this division, I have this sense that more people are confident that Baltimore's defense can turn around and be good, whereas they don't have the same thing going for the Steelers. Why do you think that is? Have the Steelers lost their mystique that they used to have?
With the defense?
Yes, with the defense.
I mean, what do you guys think? When you look at the end of last year, when you look at the start to this year, when you look at how many players talk about the predictability, I mean, what do you think?
I honestly, go ahead, CB.
No, I was going to say, for me, obviously, that mind or that visual that people have at the end of the Baltimore game, they're running for 299 yards in the playoff game, and of course, that was an area of concern. And they went out and drafted Derek Harmon in the first round. He was not there the first couple of weeks, but yet he was there. New England, Minnesota, and it looked like that run defense of the Steelers were on the uptrend. And then we see the performance that happened last week. So it's just you don't know, because right now you don't know what they're good at completely, because if you look at statistics, they're at the bottom of the league, and everybody really looks at it because Mike Tomlin talks about this team defense could have been historic coming into this year, but yet the numbers don't reflect that.
Right. And if I could be completely objective and take my Steelers colored glasses off, there are a lot of vets on this defense. Yes, they're older in the secondary. They have some youth on the D-line, but Cam Hayward being the main guy, he's up in years too. TJ Watt's 30 plus. It does give me pause that they can't get things fixed. But with vets, you would think with those vets and with the early breaks that we have, I think this mini break, Tomlin has a record of going 7-2 after Thursday night games. Communication being the main thing. Communication is one of the things that can be easily fixed. I don't think it's a talent issue, but the scheme being predictable, I said this on Twitter. We used to be a team that we were predictable. You knew what we were going to do and we did it anyway.
Right.
I don't know if we had those type of players to just line up and beat you up, despite the fact you know what we're going to do.
The one thing I would say is that I don't diminish a player for getting older simply for getting older. You know, a lot of times you get wilier, you lose a little speed on your fastball, but you get a little wilier. I'm thinking of a game in Kansas City where James Harrison was closer to the end of his career and he goaded Eric Fisher into a penalty, into a flag that essentially sealed the game. And that was being smart enough, even if he was a step slower. So Cam Hayward smart, TJ Watt smart. Yes, those guys are a little bit older, but you would think that they don't make mistakes that young guys often do, that they're not necessarily taking unnecessary risks or taking chances. I think that Mike Tomlin does set a standard or set an expectation when he sits here and he says this defense can be historic. You have to analyze, you have to look, they have to look at where they're falling short. But again, there's still a lot of football to be played. It's the highest paid defense in the National Football League. And there's a lot of football to be played. That's all I'll say. It's so hard to write anything off right now. It really is.
Well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to put your crystal ball on, because you were sold on Baltimore, Lamar Jackson coming back, and you're not giving up on the Ravens. Fast forward 2 months from now, as we enter into December, who's going to be your top teams that you're looking at in the AFC that you truly feel that they will be able to make a run at the Super Bowl?
Charlie, this is all you have to say. Okay, but nobody gets injured, and I mean that's the big thing, right?
I'm asking it with everybody healthy.
Every time I count out the Chiefs, I get proven wrong. And the thing is that in Patrick Mahomes, you have a guy that makes everybody around him better. In Andy Reid, you have a guy that's always pushing the envelope in a certain way. And the number one thing for that team is that they know how to win. They know how to close out games. I remember doing a playoff game between the Bills and the Chiefs a few years ago. I was on the sideline for Westwood One, and the Bills were up, and then the Chiefs were pulling close, and the Bills still had the lead. But late in the game, that Bills sideline, you could tell it had gotten tighter. The coaches, as you watch them go like this, talking to each other on the headset, it was literally like this. It just felt like they were a little frantic. Whereas the Chiefs sideline, it just felt like they're like, all right, we got them right where we want them. And that was the experience. That was we've been here in these moments. We know how to close out teams. We know how to close out games. We know what we need to pull. And you hear this all the time from teams that haven't yet turned the corner, that you learn how to win close games by winning close games. All right, well, who's won more close games than the Chiefs? So I'm not counting them out. Josh Allen, I also think, is a Superman. I'm not going to count the Bills out. I also think that they can clean things up. James Cook is running really well, so I'm not counting them out. Again, I'm not going to count out any team with Lamar Jackson. I won't do that. I still feel it's sort of crazy to say that. How many weeks are we in? We're 6 weeks in, 7 weeks in?
7. Mm-hmm.
So I guess 7, we're already closer to halfway through the season, but for some reason this year, it still feels early. I think, Charlie, this is my problem with training camps having changed. It just feels like the first month of the season is the preseason. Like nobody tackles in camp, so the tackling is crappy the first month of the season. Nobody plays together during the preseason, so the first month is you're learning your team, you're figuring out who you are, you're building that chemistry. So it's almost like that first month is what, when I got into football, was actually the preseason. And we all know it's about getting hot at the right time, and it's about getting better at the right time.
We'll be back with more from Aditi Kinkhabwala after this break.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Lake Spur Marketing, connecting your brand to the right customers. Visit lakespurmarketing.com today.
This season in NFL in particular, when you see Daniel Jones and what he's doing for Indianapolis.
Isn't that crazy? Guys, like, why is Shane Steichen reaching Daniel Jones in a way that Brian Daboll, who's supposed to be a quarterback whisperer, could not?
Right. And you see it is not just the only example. You see what Sam Darnold's doing in Seattle. You see what Baker's being able to do in Tampa. If there's anybody that probably is leading the MVP candidates right now at this juncture in the season. Baker has as good a chance as anybody. And so my question to you, as the parity of this NFL continues, do you see the known commodities? You mentioned Patrick Mahomes, you mentioned Lamar Jackson, you mentioned Josh Allen. Do you see somebody that with the way that this season started, do you see an unknown commodity actually making a run to the end, like the Colts, like the Chargers, like Jacksonville even?
I mean, are those really unknowns though? Is Justin Herbert an unknown? He's
an unknown in the postseason.
And we can even go back to the Bengals, right? Like, let's say Flacco can put together a magical run. I'm not saying it's definitely happening, but he did put together a magical run for the Browns a few years ago, coming off his couch. And he's got a whole lot more talent around him on this Bengals team than he did with those Browns. Now, the Bengals defense isn't what the Browns defense was. But anyway, stick with me. What if he can put together a run? And what if Joe Burrow really can come back in December? And what if Joe Burrow can play like he played a year ago? Does that suddenly, because remember, it's just about getting in the dance. It doesn't. Charlie knows all about being a wild card who gets in and wins the Super Bowl. So
I was there too. There too.
Sorry, Trai, not to disrespect you there, but it's not. You know what? But when you mentioned Sam Darnold and Baker, I've been with Baker obviously since he was a rookie and talked to him a gazillion times about this. But Sam, Baker, Daniel Jones, I think the big story, the big lesson in all of this is that sometimes we're way, way, way too quick to give up on quarterbacks. We're way, way too quick to judge somebody, and we don't think enough about what is around the quarterback. You know, we had the Saints a few weeks ago, and there was a lot of chatter that the Saints could take a quarterback in the first round. And in fact, I had been told on draft morning that they could take Jackson Dart. And Jackson Dart himself said before he played the Saints that he had thought the Saints were going to take him. But what Kellen Moore, they instead took, of course, the tackle, Banks. What Kellen Moore said to us is that he thinks the most important thing for a quarterback is to come into a stable environment, to come into as best of an environment as there is. That means building up the offensive line. That means having a decent defense. That means having a good run game. You guys look at the quarterback that you both played with for so long, Ben Roethlisberger. When he was a rookie, that's what he stepped into. How much better of an environment for a rookie quarterback does that create? And so I don't know that Spencer Rattler is the answer. I hate to count anybody out, even as I sit here and I say that we give up on quarterbacks too fast, but we just heard it that I can't remember who said it, that far too often it's franchises, it's clubs that fail young quarterbacks as opposed to young quarterbacks failing franchises. Come on, guys. Somebody just said it a few weeks ago.
It might have been Drew Brees. He was talking about it. He mentioned something about it as well. He said maybe 50 games is that benchmark that it takes for you to evaluate a quarterback. And sometimes you may not necessarily have 50 games if you know you're a coach on a hot seat.
Right. And that's tough. And it is so much about puzzle pieces. It's a rare guy that just on his own. I mean, this isn't basketball. This isn't, 1 of 5 taking over a game. So I don't know.
For me, when I look at that, I look at it as I started seeing a decline when I saw the offseason rules change in the CBA. Because now quarterbacks cannot spend a lot of time like they were in the past to be able to work on their craft. And that's all. And you start seeing it now in the development stage. If you're not a young guy and you're starting, it's really hard for teams to develop quarterbacks in the manner that they were prior to 2010. And that's just my personal belief.
Well, I mean, I'm totally with you on that one. And that's why I feel, quite frankly, when the NFLPA pushed those changes, whatever it was, 5-6 years ago, thinking that it's actually better for players to work less. I don't know, Charlie, that I just don't see how that benefits young players in any way to not work on their craft, to not have their opportunity. I'll tell you an interesting thing that Kevin Stefanski told us when we had our meetings with the Browns this past week is that they very specifically, any players who weren't going to be up on Sunday had an extra 15-minute individual drill, both on Friday and on Monday. So all those weeks that Shedeur Sanders did not dress, he got individual time for an extra 15 minutes every Friday, an extra 15 minutes on Monday, because they know, especially for young quarterbacks who are number 3 on the depth chart, even sometimes number 2, it's just really hard to get the tutoring that you really need. And so because he wasn't going to play on Sundays, they made sure that they were banking in as much extra time with him as they could.
And to that, and one added element to that point, that's why veterans are able to stay around a lot longer, because coaches can trust those guys because they are already battle tested.
Right.
And they're able to now be able to throw in, understand the speed of the game, and they're not going to lose the game for you. So again, something is going to have to change with that if you want to see development from a quarterback who's not drafted in the first round, thrown in there early.
Well, Charlie, I heard that the NFLPA is looking for a new executive director.
Do you have anybody
You want to break some news?
Hey.
I mean, I hope you're throwing your hat in that ring right there.
If anybody could do a CB, he can. But
That's for
Aditi,
sure.
I want to thank you for your time on the snap count. We hope that you come and join us again soon. Give us some more
Anytime. And I will be on time next time. I'm so sorry,
Hey,
guys. Blame my broken dryer, please.
I understand. We all understand. As a parent who was always on soccer dad duty, I know how important that dryer is. So, all right. Thanks, Aditi. We'll be back.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
The Trench Report is brought to you by Smart Choice Windows. Right now at Smart Choice Windows, you can get 50% off all windows during our limited time promotion. Plus, take advantage of their special financing with no money down and no interest until 2027. Looking to upgrade your whole exterior? Smart Choice Windows is also offering $1,500 off siding for your entire home and $500 off entry door insulation to boost your curb appeal. And remember that every project starts with a free, no pressure estimate. So give them a call at 844-GET-SMART or visit smartchoicewindows.com and make sure to ask about the big play bonus to get additional 10% off all promotions. Chuck, you know I love my linemen, buddy, especially when they ball out like this, man. The Trench Report for the first time this year has all positive grades, and I can't wait to share how I saw them on film today. Now, despite the fact that we lost in the way that we lost, there were very positive things happening. You saw development happening at a high level. 6 games in, these young boys are moving in the right direction, man. And the addition of Spencer Anderson to this group and the uptick in snap counts for Darnell Washington, who's our honorary, he's an honorary Hog, you know that. But it's been a sight to see, man. And I was watching that film smiling and seeing the technique that they were able to put on film, seeing guys improve, seeing the communication improve. I didn't chart one missed assignment the entire time. So that was new. You know, usually Broderick would give me 1 or 2. Usually Troy will give me 1 or 2. None of the young guys did anything. And for the first time in the Trench Report history, in the short history, the tackles outplayed the guards. Not by much, because the guards balled out too. But let's get to it. Spencer Anderson, man, he has been a welcome addition to our offensive line. I told you I was big on him this preseason. He got a lot of reps at left guard next to Broderick. I thought he had a really good preseason. And as you can see, the coaches feel comfortable adding him and making him a major part of this offense. Now, he didn't get as many snaps this week as he did last week or the week before, but the snaps that he was in, he made them count. I think both our big runs happened on the plays that he was in on, him and Darnell Washington. So kudos to Spencer Anderson for another solid performance. He is definitely adding another wrinkle to this offense that we didn't know that we had coming into this season. And so good for him. Now, Troy, number 76. Now, everybody has been talking about Broderick. He's getting a lot of attention, a lot of ire, as I call it, from Steeler Nation. But Troy has been quietly putting out good tape, improving each and every week. And he had the highest grade this week on the O-line. And the thing that impressed me so much with him is that he was doing stuff that vets do. You know that move? I don't know. I can demonstrate it for you for a little bit. You can punch, and you see the D lineman extend their arms, and you see the trap move that offensive linemen do, because the defensive lineman has all their weight into the offensive lineman trying to bull rush him. And a good move, offensive linemen have moves too, Chuck. You hear about the spin moves that all these DNs have and these D tackles have. Hear about the swim move. O-linemen have moves too, and they have a plethora of ways they can deploy them. It's all about the confidence in themselves to do it. And Troy does it already. He's doing moves that vets do already, and he's doing it at a high level. He had a great game this week, albeit not the best of defensive lines. Nevertheless, you still got to go out there and perform, and he did that. Now, Mr. Consistency at right guard, Mason McCormick, you know, I told you, that's my dog right there. He plays with so much emotion, and I love it. He's signaling first down. He's the hype man on this offensive line. I can tell already. And so he puts out another solid performance. Him and Troy are making a lethal combo on that right side. So I'm excited about the future of them. And then we got Zach Frazier, the man in the middle. Have you heard of one bad snap in the 6 weeks this week, Troy?
Not at all.
Not one bad snap. And that was his bugaboo last year. We had a couple of bad snaps toward the end of the year. He has gotten that fixed. And not only that, he's playing and getting downfield at a high level. The communication is superb. If the O-line does not have any mental errors, yes, each individual player gets kudos, but the center is the main reason why that happens. He puts everybody on the same page, and everybody was on the same page this week. Everybody was going in the same direction. The combo blocks were great with both Troy and Isaac. He did have, I think, one pressure when he gave him one quarterback pressure at the beginning of the game. Other than that, he was solid as always, and we need that. He needs to keep on trending upwards because I think he's the next center in this great lineage of Pittsburgh Steelers centers. He's falling right in line with that. And Isaac, now, I was hard on him early in the year because I didn't think that he communicated enough. As a veteran on this team, the one that's played at the high level, the one that's been on Super Bowl teams, Isaac was the one that was tasked to lead this team. Now, he doesn't have maybe the personality or the disposition to be a vocal leader, but he seems to be picking that up a little bit. I see Broderick during the game going over just to confer with Isaac to make sure that they're on the same page, and he communicates right back. He tells Zach when he has to go a ram call. You remember the old ram calls? I don't know what they call it now, but you can see him signaling that he's going to be working with the center, and that lets Broderick know that he's going to be working by himself. And so the communication is happening, and it's happening at a high level. He's a big reason for that. Now, Broderick, our man, the guy that's gotten the most flag. You see all that red? It's not red anymore. It's yellow now. Dude, I saw some high-level left tackle technique this week. I saw some inside hand punches. I saw great footwork. I saw aggressiveness. I saw extension. The things that we pointed out last week, he did it again this week. And that's what you want to see. If a guy has a good game, you want to see, can he build upon that, and that he's not reading his own press clippings. You know what I'm saying? Like, is he going to keep on stacking good performances on top of one another? And Broderick is doing that. He did it again. Now, Trey Henderson wasn't there. That's okay. He blocked Myles Garrett last week. He deserved a little break this week, and he got that because the guy that replaced Trai wasn't giving him the best looks all the time, but that's okay because Broderick dominated him as he should have. So that was great to see. It was great to see the entire line ball out the way they did. All that yellow, all that, we're going to call it gold because that is beautiful right there. No red. Everybody balled out. They played winning football. We ran the ball down Cincinnati's throat. We should have ran it more. Only 20 carries on the whole line, but we ran at a 7.4 yards a clip. And that's a great day for the offensive line. And also another clean sheet. 3 clean sheets in a row where Aaron Rodgers has not gotten sacked. So they're doing the good things. Pat Myers had these boys going in the right direction. I am so excited today to present this trench report because it's beautiful. All that yellow is just gorgeous, don't you think?
It aligns right with what you're talking about. 147 yards rushing, 127 by Jaylen Warren. That's expected right there. That lets you know they were dominating the line of scrimmage. And I love the trajectory of where Broderick Jones is at because we discussed in length, moving from right tackle to left tackle is not easy. It takes time, but you just can't turn around and continue to get beat as long as you're showing the progression week in and week out. And that's exactly where Broderick is at this particular point. And it shows right up with your grades. And now he has that 90, 91.
Yeah, 91.
This is the expectations that we're going to have every single week now. We expect him to bring this to the equation each and every week.
Yeah, it's not going to get any easier for any of our tackles, but that's what you want. You want the arrow to be moving up. You want to be progressing forward, and that's what they're doing at a time when the toughest part of our schedule is coming up, okay? And so Aaron, I'm sure, is watching this film with him. He has confidence. He's going to have confidence to throw the ball downfield more. We get Calvin Austin back. And so as long as this O-line keeps on playing how they're playing, we're going to possess the ball more. Who's that going to help? That's going to help the defense. That's going to help them stay rested. The things that we had issues with the last few years is that we couldn't stay on the field long enough, and our defense got worn out by the end of the year. We have the guys now, and they're moving in the direction now that's going to make our offense better in the long run. And come December and January, when you got to lean on the offensive line and you got to lean on the run game, I think if they keep on moving at this pace that they're moving, we're going to be just all right come December and January football, and that's where you want to be.
Absolutely. Not much more to add to that.
I love it. We'll be back after this break. That segment was also brought to you by Smart Choice Bass. It's the perfect time to remodel your bathroom. Right now, Smart Choice Bass is giving you $1,250 off your bathroom projects, plus a free luxury upgrade to add comfort and style. And just for Big Play listeners, you'll save an additional 10% on your project. So don't wait. Visit them at smartchoicebass.com or give them a call at 844-GET-SMART to schedule your free consultation today. Smart Choice Bass, where luxury meets affordability. This week's Big Play Bets are brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss this NFL season. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com, Big Play, to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Disclaimer, must be 21 plus and present in Pennsylvania. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Restrictions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. The Steelers open as a 3-point underdog at home Sunday Night Football with Aaron Rodgers going against his former squad. I think that's a fair line, 3-point underdogs, although they had some troubles with the Jacoby Brissett-led Cardinals yesterday. They had to pull it out at the end. But are you surprised that they're getting these points with coming to Pittsburgh to play?
Not surprised, only because they can move the ball and they're pushing the ball down the field with Jordan Love. So anytime you have this particular game happening like this, it doesn't surprise me at all. Now, what do they look like from a rest standpoint, coming off of that game against the Cardinals, going down essentially to the wire, and then now having to travel to Pittsburgh? So that's going to be something that they, player-wise, the coaching staff is going to have to do a great job of getting those guys recovered and being able to play in this game.
Yeah, their offense. Jordan Love is completing nearly 70% of his passes, around 240 yards per game, 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Josh Jacobs, their bell cow, who was in Las Vegas before this, has found a home in Green Bay. He seems to score touchdowns every single game. He's about as sure as bet in the FanDuel app as you can get as far as scoring touchdowns. Hope he doesn't do that against us. And then their leading receiver, they have a plethora of receiver. They have Dobbs, they have Golden, they got Christian Watson back, but their leading receiver is Tucker Kraft. And we have historically had issues with good tight ends.
And already they're going to come out in a 3-receiver set. They're going to force that sub package for the Steelers to be out there, and that's where they're going to run the football. Why? Because they have shown that there's leakages that are happening when that nickel defense is on the field and they're not able to stop the run game. So that's going to be something that I expect to see early in this game to see if the Steelers are able to stop that run.
And they paid a lot of money for Micah Parsons to come over, the highest paid defensive player in the league. Now, deservedly so. He has 5.5 sacks so far, but he's not the only one that's causing mayhem on that defensive line. Rashan Gary, in his own right, who's a great pass rusher, they both have 5.5 sacks. So, Chuck, the O-line has their work cut off. There won't be a break for the tackle that doesn't have Micah Parsons because Mr. Gary is coming too. And so they get a lot of pressure. I saw Micah, I think he had 10 pressures by himself versus that Cardinals offensive line, had a crucial sack towards the end of the game that really derailed their whole comeback attempt and really put them out of field goal range. So the O-line has their work cut out for them, but enough about them. We need to talk about who's going to be scoring for our Steelers. And Mount Washington put up a touchdown. But if you want to know who else is going to score next week, Charlie has his bets for you on the other side of this break. All right. First off, Chuck knows how to bet these bets, but I'm going to ask you first. Over under 44.5. Green Bay has scored at least 27 points, 5 out of their 6 games. Our offense has been putting up points the last couple of weeks. Over or under 44.5 on Sunday Night Football.
No, this is over for me, big time, because this is going to be a game that both quarterbacks are going to want to put the ball in the air.
Okay. I see Jalen having a big game to the point where I think he's going to be our touchdown scorer. I think Jalen Warren's going to have 2 touchdowns this week, but you don't need to listen to me. Charlie is the one who always knows who's going to score a touchdown. Mount Washington, like I mentioned before, finally got into the end zone. 3 tight ends of ours got into the end zone. Calvin, the rumor has it that Calvin Austin will be back this week. Does that change who you think is going to score?
It doesn't change who I think is going to score because the ball is going to be force-fed, number 1, to DK, so I think he gets into the end zone this week. And the other one that I'm banking on this week, I'm going with Jonnu Smith.
Okay, Jonnu, one of the 3 tight ends that scored along with Pat Freiermuth and Mount Washington last week. We know how to get those tight ends in the end zone. Did you know it's only the second time in NFL history that 3 tight ends have scored in the same game?
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
A little bit of sports almanac stats for you in case you need to know that stuff going into your trivia games. But episode 13 in the books, we had a great guest in Aditi. Did you have as much fun as I did, my man?
Absolutely. Aditi is one of the best in the business, man. I'm glad she was able to stop by and grace us with her presence.
And we also, it doesn't stop here. You get to see us 2 times a week. We'll be back this Friday, giving you a more in-depth preview of this Green Bay Steelers matchup on Sunday night. Look forward to seeing you then. See you on Friday, Chuck.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
All right, here we go.